What's going on, guys? I wanted to talk about this Paramount Plus deal with the UFC and how it is very interesting what's happening there's a correlation between both of TKO's products, right? The UFC and WWE. Now, I was a fan in my younger years of the WWE or WWF as it used to be known during the Attitude Era. I'm sure a lot of you as kids were as well. Now, one of the things that I got into was I got back into WWE last year when I started seeing it on Netflix. It was just like, hey, it's Monday after work, there's not much going on, especially when it's a slow sports month, right? During that, especially that window of time between uh, the NFL ending and baseball coming back. And quite frankly, it's very hard to follow things, especially sports, if you're working and you're raising a family, et cetera, et cetera. But one of the guys that I listened to, his name is James Romero, and he literally just put out a video today that made me think and correlate with the UFC. And is that Raw? And I was watching it yesterday, and I'm like, this is terrible. Which was Raw and Stranger Things came together and made some sort of mashup. And as it's starting, I'm thinking to myself, how is this going to work exactly, right? Because you're talking about wrestling. Are you going to incorporate that in the attire that they're going to be using? Are we going to get some backstage segments, skits by some of the more comedic relief wrestlers or talent? Are we going to see some of the Stranger Things cast there? It just, there were so many questions as it started. Nonetheless, I do believe it was a terrible show. I'm a fan of CM Punk, and he retained his title. I know it's fake, but now let's bring it back to the world of UFC and how that may affect. So one of my concerns, and a lot of you guys know pay-per-view model's done. So I'm concerned, and I don't know how I feel about it. I think on one side, the UFC has to make their money, and so does Paramount Plus, but is this the end of the corner segments, right? When especially in the main card on pay-per-view, there's no commercials. You're getting fight after fight, you get a round of intermission, you're listening to the corners. I believe that this is going to go away with this new deal. And it even begs the question, who are the UFC's biggest sponsors? And so this was published back in 2025 by Home of Fight. Very good article. Where again, obviously, it predates the Paramount deal, Paramount Plus deal. However, some of these sponsorships were already in effect prior to them moving, like cryptocurrency. So crypto.com, I remember back in the 2020s, 2021, that COVID year, um, a lot of us started getting into crypto and Bitcoin and Ethereum and all that crap. So obviously they're locked in for another 5 years on that deal. The UFC is, and then we know Bud Light, who was went through a lot of issues, I think in 2023 with some of the alphabet influencers. I'm not, but we know that they took a steep hit, Anheuser-Busch, that is, and their Bud Light brand. They've obviously since then revamped the marketing and tried to tailor it back to the main consumer, right? Which is usually men in their 20s through their 60s. I think that's their demographic for the most part. Not to say that women don't drink Bud Light and Bud, but I think they moved away from that. So they're locked in. It's a hundred million dollar year multi-year deal. So they're the primary beer. DraftKings obviously is their official sports book. We've seen the John Anik commercials again plastered right here. And again, a lot of this is more for the U.S. market, what we're going to be seeing. I'm wondering what those commercials and how that will look like for the overseas market. I know they do a lot of Bet One and TNT Sports, I think, has the UK rights. I'm not sure if that's changed. But then we have Venom, of course, who just renewed. So I think this article is updated. Just renewed their deal. I think a lot of folks preferred the Venom brand over Reebok. Obviously, Venom is in essence a MMA combat sports brand, and they've done the custom fight kits for some of the fighters. We've seen it done for Max Holloway, for Alex Pereira. I think they did one for John Jones, Ilya Taporia. They did one for Australia for Volk. So, amongst others, they did the cargo pants for Thug Nasty, Bryce Mitchell. Yeah, that guy's going crazy. Used to be a big fan of Bryce Mitchell as well. Then they have this historic global marketing partnership with VeChain, which is the official blockchain partner. I'm a bit ignorant to this whole crypto thing, so I don't get how you have both of those. Toyo tires, which is a main staple. We've seen the commercials with fighters like Forrest Griffin, um, what's his name, Dominic Cruz, obviously, as we see here, Brian Ortega. Then they also have the mocktails, or not the mocktails, the seltzers. I didn't even know this. This is something interesting. They actually have partnerships based on the type of alcohol spirit, right? You have vodka, tequila, whiskey, Howlerhead. That's funny because yeah, that's the UFC brand. I know Dana, that's Dana's product. And we've seen some of those commercials. I think there was one with Wonder Boy Thompson and Holland, Kevin Holland, which was a great commercial. So obviously that's currently where they lie in sponsorship. It's going to be interesting what we're going to see with the UFC and how they're going to incorporate the Paramount Plus branding. Now, according to some online searches, some of this is also tied to who they sponsorship with. Like, so for example, I believe that ESPN also has some of these same sponsorships. They're integrated in the sponsorships. So that's some of the information that I found. Now, what's that going to look like for Paramount? Are we going to see more of their fighters? I'm sorry, more of their TV show cast be at UFC events? We know one of the popular shows is King of Tulsa with Sylvester Stallone, and I believe Sylvester's a big fight fan. I know he used to go to UFC events. I don't know as much now. Maybe we'll see him more. Obviously, we see Trump and Sylvester Stallone are good friends. Are we going to see some of the other shows featured? Landman is another prominent show. So it's going to be interesting how they incorporate that. And I'm hoping that we don't see some of these weird mashups where like it's going to be a theme show. I don't think the UFC is going to play into that gimmick, but I am concerned that we're going to see a lot more commercials. We know one of the most recent brand deals is that now you, as a consumer, can appear on the UFC um, Octagon canvas. UFC, I think they call it UFC Place Your Name on Canvas. Yeah. So now they have this where you can actually pay to have your name on it. Apparently, you can customize it, the dimensions, and then after the fight, here we go. After the fight is over, uh, they'll they'll cut it up, I guess, put it on a plaque for you, and you have a little gimmick there. So I feel like this is something that would be great for small business, medium business sizes that you can't afford necessarily, a big old steak or Budweiser on one of the sides of the fence, but you can probably put the name of your small business there, and people will Google it, right? Especially if you have a catchy name or whatever the case may be. So it's going to be very interesting because one of the other call outs for WWE is the amount of commercials. I mean, there's nonstop commercials to the point where I think I might have seen my last WWE event. I might see it once or twice more just because, I mean, I already have the Netflix subscription and it's going to be, and I also have a VPN that you can pretty much see the rest of the programming under one umbrella with Netflix. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the UFC and especially all of this branding. I mean, I don't think you could fit anything more on the octagon, right? I mean, there's nothing else that you can really use there. So I'm looking for Paramount Plus to potentially start to put commercials in between the main event cards, especially during that 1 minute intermission. I wouldn't be surprised, and I think this is more of a commission-based decision making, but I would not uh, put it past the UFC and their broadcasting partners to increase the time in between rounds. Like right now, I know it's 1 minute. What if they decided to go minute and a half to just get in more of these commercials, more of these sponsors that are paying for that for the TV time, so or broadcasting time, right? So it's streaming time. So it's going to be very interesting what the UFC is going to look like under this Paramount deal. I think they're going to be cautious early on and slowly start to see commercials in between the segments. I could even see them doing away with the promos before each fight and using that time to plug in whatever product, whatever sponsorship service that's paying for that time. So I think that's something that we have to look out for as fight fans. The same thing goes with that time in between the main card, uh, between the rounds on the main card. I think a lot of that we're going to see a lot more commercials. I think we have to just it's part of the growth. It's part of big corporations that are dumping millions, if not billions, as we know, of dollars into the machine that is the UFC. So just something to look out for, guys. Just wanted to put this video out there just because of similar products, right? They're similar products in the term in the sense of it's very fighter based or wrestler based. It's under the same holding company in TKO. So we could see the same thing happening with Paramount Plus. Hopefully that's not the case, but let me know your thoughts, questions. What do you think about this? Do you think we're going to be seeing just an abundance of commercials during UFC cards? Drop a like, subscribe. Talk to you guys.